Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay.
Wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon.
I'm getting an echo now. Oh, never mind.
Nobody knows it might feel using the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seed of it's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
I'm getting an echo.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Airways laying desert with Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your resident, this happens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters, filling in the blanks. Blanks, eh? Blanks is good. I am your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back with another show for you today, Thursday night. At least we're making it on one of the two nights, Wednesday or Thursday, but well, I'll tell you, we just can't seem to break hump day. Pretty funny. So we may just make it permanently Thursday. I don't know. That seems to work better for all of us. But yeah, we've definitely been having problems making the Wednesday night show. I think it's just because we know we have another day, and it's like, why do today what you can put off until tomorrow, right? All right. So, okay, guys. So we're going to talk about a few different things today. I'm going to try and keep the show a little bit shorter. I know I always say that I try to do that, but I'm going to try. We're going to try and keep it down to maybe an hour and a half, something like that. And we're going to have Zack talk about, we've had a lot of questions about, well, the basics, like I said, there's still so many people that ask the most basic questions, like why do the ships disappear from the bottom up? What about eclipses, and all the same very basic questions. It's hard to believe, and I really wonder if some of these people aren't just trolls because they think that they've got us on those. It's like, we got you, you're never going to be able to answer that. But we can answer it, and we will answer it, and hopefully we can cut down on some of those, because I'll tell you, those same old stupid questions keep coming in and keep coming in. But so we'll see if we can't get some of those answers. And then Cami is going to fill us in a little bit more on space weather. We were talking the other day about space weather and how it affected, some of the financial markets. And I think she's going to talk about that and how space weather is kind of reported and propagated to us. And and how it's affecting us in that way, that it's affecting our markets and our psyche and stuff like that. But these are things that, they're absolutely undeniable that they are happening. And I think that, it's very interesting to be able to understand what is causing these phenomenons. And, hey, maybe you can, if you understand it well enough, you can make some money on it. Who knows? That's always a good thing, right? So, all right, so that'll do that. Let me go ahead and introduce the panel for today. I'll go ahead and introduce my wife, Cami, first. So how you doing today, Cami? And I bet you weren't expecting to be first, were you?
Oh, it works. It works. I'm not usually first with you, but it works for me. It's good to be here this afternoon. I like being able to fill in some of the details on some of the extra nerdy stuff, and so I'm looking forward to the tech talk today. I think that's what we'll call it, is the tech talks.
The tech talk. Okay. Well, hey,
Instead of a TED talk, I'm going to do a tech talk. So looking forward to it. And any of our nerds in the audience, please throw out any questions and that you might have on me. But really looking forward to it. Looking forward to what Zach's going to present. And Bob, as far as you go, and Thursday, I just started announcing to everybody that the show was on Thursday. That way I don't feel late and that I'm letting people down. But without you even knowing it, I've already moved it forward in all of like my chat groups and that. So one on you there.
Well, that's probably a good thing. So, all right. Well, we'll probably just set it for Thursday nights then. That sounds reasonable. All right. So next up we have Mr. Zachary Zabala, or Good Times for All if you prefer. How you doing tonight, Zach?
Hey, Babo. Hey, everybody. It's like Christmas right now for me. 2 days from Christmas. I got my new Tesla coil coming Saturday, so every thought I have is like, overshadowed by that eventually in the end. So I'm not really thinking too clearly right now. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole optics and diffraction and stuff like that I have down pretty well, so I should be able to get through that without too much trouble.
Yep. Yeah. See, isn't it interesting to see what nerds spend all their money on? These tech toys. And of course, the other thing we've been getting is all of the parts for Austin's and Sean Hibbler's systems have been coming in, and I think we have everything but the power supplies for them. We got the video cards, we got the motherboards, we got the Core i9 processors. Each one of them has 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM. It's insane. The video cards are insanely powerful, and so
Jeran's been drooling.
Yeah, my son Jeran is drooling all over them. So, so as soon as we get the power supplies, we can start getting those built, and then get Austin going and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I think they're going to really like it. So, all right, and let's go ahead and move along to Kyle. Last but not least, how you doing this evening, Kyle Adams?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
All right, sounds good. From the Flat Earth University.
Institute of Science.
Flat Earth, that's right. God, why do I keep saying that?
That's
Flat
okay.
Earth Institute of Science. I know, I'll get it right one of these days. It's kind of like it took everybody forever to get the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac clock right?
Yeah.
And
I've got the conspiracy boards with all the strings kind of, that's what's on my brain right now. Just how you see pictures of it all over the place, different people using them, but they're all very disorganized and scatterbrained. But I'm like, hey, I've got one of those, but mine's much more organized.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome. Okay, so all right, so I guess before we get started and dive into this, there's one thing I want to show you guys, because honestly, this is insane. Oops, I think I'm going to have to reshare this thing with sound. Hang on just a second. And share stop screen. Let me reshare it.
Yeah, this video is going to show people why every child should not get a trophy. Not every child should be treated, the same in school. Some children need more help. They just do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in California now, you can graduate without knowing how to read. That is insanity. And this video is, you're thinking I'm crazy when I say that, but wait till you see this video. You're going to start saying, okay, maybe you can.
You know, I couldn't believe it when, you know, Jeran, you know, they didn't teach him how to write cursive. I'm like, what? How there's so much stuff in cursive. How can you not teach that anymore? That's
How
like
do you
cutting
write your
off.
name?
I know. It's just unbelievable. But this is the government run or the state run education system. This is our pride and joy here in the United States. And I know other countries are better. We're probably doing pretty poorly as the rest of the world. But when you guys listen to this and these people, it's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. I don't know what else to say. So yeah, here we go. Let's check it out.
Do you know how many stars there are on the U.S. flag?
52.
Yes. What state is Utah in?
Michigan.
Yes. Do you know what state Utah is in?
Utah, to be honest with you, I never heard of that place ever in my life. I live under a rock.
Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
I suck at history. I was like my worst subject. Can we do like science?
No. Any three. You know this.
A country?
But you notice she's got the Team Buy Pride shirt on, right? She can tell you all about, you know, all that stuff. Like, you know, that's what really matters in life. But unreal.
Oh my jeez, this is terrible. Oh my god. Country. Wait, besides the U.S.?
Yeah.
Huh? Ah! I'm sorry, I can't.
All right, it's fine.
I can't do history. I can't.
Do you know how many dimes there are in the dollar? Make up $1.
A dime is the 10 cent or the 5 cent?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
Damn.
Any 3. You know this.
Canada? New Mexico, right? That's good?
Yeah.
Damn, I need one more. Damn.
Yeah, so you got Canada, New Mexico, and what?
Damn. I need to go back to school.
Do you know how many states there are in total in the U.S.?
100.
How many continents are there?
3.
Continents?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what 2 countries border the U.S.?
So bordered?
Yeah, like on the borders.
The only border I know is Puerto Rico and Mexico.
Yes. Who fought in the Civil War?
I don't know. You talking about president-wise?
No, the people. Who against who?
I don't know that one. I know it had to do like what with France and I don't know the other one.
France and who? You're close.
France and the British are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So, damn, I don't know.
Who did they fight against?
Us?
Yes. Do you know what continents we're on right now? Do you know who fought in the Civil War?
Who fought in the Civil War? Like from the president?
No, like who against who?
It was the Nazis versus Germany. No. Yes. No. I'm gonna say yes, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Dang, this makes me want to go like, check it out over at the college because I was having
know that?
results for this over at the college.
I'm sorry, say again, Kyle?
Sorry, I was saying this makes me want to go try this out over at the college because I was having similar results just talking to people about the Constitution. It's just what part of the Constitution says anything about NASA or going to the moon or Mars or anything like that. And people are like, what's the Constitution? And I was getting this from college students. I'm like, seriously? Like, oh.
I know.
Don't
and
you have,
the
to,
amazing
don't you have like
part
prerequisites to going to college here?
I know. And the amazing part about it is these people cannot even coherently form a sentence or use correct grammar or spelling or anything like that, right? I mean, and because they graduated the system, you know, in this holier than thou type of attitude that the system puts into them, they come out thinking they're smarter than anybody else. So, you know, obviously, so when we say, well, the earth isn't a sphere, it's, you know, it's flat, then all of a sudden, they're on their high horse because they didn't learn that in school, and they can proudly recite, "You dumb retards, you guys are so stupid, it's unbelievable." And this is Dunning-Kruger at its absolute best, right? They think they actually know, they think they're smarter than we are, right? And they then criticize us and 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 beyond, right? Because we're looking at things critically, and most of the people, that are flat earthers, actually a great majority of them, I think, are a little older from generations past that were before it was subject to all this dumbing down. I mean, we've been getting dumbed down for a long time, but the new generation, if you're not a gamer, and that's where most of the trolls come from, by the way, is the gaming ranks. But they actually think, they call us dumb, and it's just unbelievable. And this is
You
really the mentality.
you can actually track, you can tie this all together and track when this really started happening. This is what women fought for. This was women's lib, supposedly, where they taught us that raising your children and making sure that they were educated and having a family had zero importance because you got no money from it, and that all women should, in order to be better, be able to work on these all important jobs that we do, that we go away from our family and trust the education system to do, to train our kids. And we're told it takes a village and we need to trust these systems. And this is what the system is turning out. This is what, I mean, really, when we're going into the genders and different things, when you took the mothers out of the house, this is what happened, is because, again, nobody is monitoring. You try to monitor the school and that, but I'm telling you, you're putting a little bit, when they put all of these extra jobs on women's plates, in the name of progression and liberty, they didn't take anything off. You just, in other words, you were still supposed to raise fine children, get all of your meals cooked, have your house entirely cleaned, along with working to 40 to 60 hours of it and trying to even fight, harder because supposedly biases. It was all brainwashing put onto women. And I believe for this result, because you get the women out of the house and into nonsense
Yeah,
labor jobs
absolutely.
that you put them into and take them away from the family, everything falls apart.
Yeah,
I did,
absolutely.
by the way, Kyle, I did do this test on my Jeran, who is 18. And it was interesting because he laughed at most of the questions that had him. The two that he did get right but had to stop on and ponder was who fought the Civil War, because he was just trying to, he got there, but you could tell it was nothing big to him. He was just going through the list of a million different wars that they had to do and say which one was which, but he did not automatically know the Civil War, and he had to think back to what year we founded. I just kept on staring at him, and he eventually got both answers right as his only and first answers while doing it. The other ones were give me, so I felt pretty good as a mom.
Yeah, yeah, he did really, really well. But unfortunately, when you show this to other people, teachers or congressmen or politicians or whatever, they would call this a failure of the school system. And the reality is this is a success of the school system because this is precisely what it was designed to do, right? This is intentional. This
Exactly.
is not a
You could,
failure.
yeah, you cannot mess kids up and have it, because, again, pay attention to what answers they can answer. You cannot do this without intention on there, is right. There is no excuse for this. Back on
I'm gonna
you.
Yeah.
have to go try this out with my kids and see how well they do.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
go and look at the tests that were given in the 1850s, 60s, 70s, to children going from, 8th grade into high school, into 9th grade, the test they had to pass, most college graduates cannot pass that test today. So they are absolutely dumbing us down 100%. It's right there, black and white.
Yes. This is so intentional. It's just sad. It really is. So, all right. So let's listen to it a little bit more. I'm not going to play
Oh,
the whole thing, but
I
oh,
do
what?
have to point out that from exchange students, I've been watching videos from exchange students coming in from other countries, and I will have to say that America is really embarrassing, compared to, they've focused on dumbing us down even more in our entitlements. we really, most exchange students will say when they come into, like if they come in as a 12th grader, they'll say, wow, we were doing this in 7th or 8th grade, or again, time and time again on the fundamentals. We don't have anything to be proud of here. I'm just saying.
No, the United States education system has fostered a bunch of dumbasses.
Intentionally. Again, I think the only way
Intentionally.
they could get here is intentionally. So this is by design.
Yes. There's no way that this could happen any other way. I mean, there just isn't any way. People are not innately this dumb. This has to be programmed into them. And we all know it, right? Every person in this audience, I guarantee you knows it. Well, maybe not every, but most people know it. And they can see why, because they don't want anybody to understand anything. They want people to believe, watch cartoons and believe that we're sending things to space. And I mean, it's so sad, but they have completed their mission flawlessly. They really have. So let's watch a few more minutes of this.
They taught me it, but I just guessed it now. But
yeah, so
it's like I forgot. But
yeah, it was right in the back of your head, and like it came up.
Yeah.
How many Kardashian sisters can you name?
Kendall Jenner, Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, Kourtney Kardashian.
See, I didn't even know the Jenners were Kardashians. Like I give a crap about any of them. But yeah, she didn't have any problem pulling that out, right?
I could have told you Kim Kardashian just because she married some rapper, and I heard something about that. I didn't know she had multiple sisters and the Jenners and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But she just spit that out like nothing. Didn't even have to think about it. You see how proud she was too when she was saying it?
Mm-hmm.
And Bob, I want you to be a little bit proud of your son, because when I said he did perfect on the test, this is the one question he could not answer and was completely right on. So, okay.
Yeah, it does make me happy, because I mean, this is beyond useless knowledge. And yeah, it's like, who cares? All this stuff going on in the world, and people give a crap about what the Jenners are doing or how big Kim Kardashian's butt is or anything like that. It's just sad. So let's listen a little bit more. Oh, and what cracks me up is, no matter what they get right or wrong, and most of it is wrong, he's like, yep, you're right. Oh, you got it. All right. And they're all happy with themselves. So let's continue.
Is that all? That's all.
Yeah, that's all of them for sure.
Smart.
Yeah, dude, you're a genius. How many seasons?
And then she thinks she's so smart because she could do that. Wow.
Seasons are there?
May, June, July, August, September,
God.
December. 8? No.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said 8.
Yes. Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
3 countries.
Yeah.
Canada, Mexico, and Asia. No, Asia. Asia.
Yes. What state is Utah in?
Utah? I don't know what Utah. I'm terrible. Best friend. I don't know. I don't know history, like that world history stuff. I don't like. I'm mad.
You know what 3 times 3 times 3 is?
3 times 3 times 3. 3.
No, you know this.
Yeah, I know this. Stop. Hold on. Nah, because that's supposed to be a trick. That's supposed to be a trick thing. But like, I gotta do it in my head. Sorry. 9 and then 9 times 3. Damn.
This, by the way,
3, 6.
hold this.
Mm-hmm.
Your 3 times 3 times 3 was a no-brainer, like in the 70s for anybody in first to second grade that knew their multiplication tables and extracting it. This is something that, again, in the 70s, and to this day, you can do it without. That's a no. This is a no thinking question. This is 3 times 3 times 3.
We had to have the multiplication tables memorized all the way up into the 12s.
Exactly. You had to, again, it was a no-brainer that you had it memorized, and you didn't even have to think of an answer like this. This is not, I mean, you do 27 without even blinking, and you still, I mean, anybody that I know of my age still can. This is crazy.
Yeah. And that's why, people working in McDonald's can't even make change. And that used to blow me away a long time ago. It's like, So then they have to have the cash register tell them how much to give back, and they still have problems with that. And again, like I said, this is intentional. It's so sad.
3 times 3 times 3.
It was 3 times 3 times 3. Alright.
Wow.
What is he doing? How many? I mean, look at him. How many multiplications are going on in his head?
He's like, processing the megaflops, man. He's
Yeah,
burning
trying
up
to
his
count
CPU.
it out in his head.
I know. I mean, it's funny, but it's also so damn sad. It's like, oh my God.
And I'm sure it's not everybody. I'm sure there were people that got answers right that aren't in the video.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this is just sad that there's even one person out there like this.
Yeah,
walking
nobody
around
should be like this.
in a first world country where education is free, This is bad.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, like I said, when I read some of the troll comments, in my comment section before I delete them, it's like my first instinct is just go back on and rag them that they can't even form a coherent, sentence, let alone spell it correctly or anything, right? I mean, it's just all wrong in every way, shape, or form. And
I
they're
get
just
that
so
a lot.
proud of themselves calling us stupid, Like what, Kyle?
I was saying I get that a lot. People come in and they say all these terrible things and they can't form a properly spelled sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, non-player characters. I agree. We when I really first started becoming aware of this about what they were doing to people, Cami and I went out to Las Vegas, and man, talk about NPCs all over the place in Las Vegas. I mean, these people, there are people out there, the lights are on, but nobody's home, guys. So if you haven't been to Vegas lately, check it out. It's scary. It's literally like the zombies are already walking around there. Insane. Let's watch a few minutes of this.
3 times 3 times 3? 9 times 3. But I don't know. I ain't gonna lie, I'm retarded.
Yeah, take a guess. A number.
Like 36?
Yes. What's 3 times 3 times 3?
12.
Yes. Do you know what continent we're on right now? Do
No. I don't know none of that.
you know who the current vice president is?
Vice president? No, I don't know his name, but I know I heard of it. I don't know.
You don't remember his name?
His name.
I know he's from Bulldog, if I'm not mistaken.
What's the capital of Chicago?
Capital of Chicago. Dame un segundo. I gotta think.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one.
Is it Los Angeles? I feel like that's so wrong. Wow. That's not even a capital. Capital of Chicago. I really don't know that one.
What language do the people in Idaho speak?
What?
Like the language, the people who live in Idaho, what do they speak? You know?
Hell no. I don't know. What? Japan?
Do you know how many presidents we've had so far?
Oh no. No, like
Around how many?
11?
Yes, around there. How long is a quarter of an hour?
25 minutes.
Yes. You know that what two countries border the U.S.?
You said what two countries? What?
Border?
Mexico? I don't fucking know. Mexico and I don't know. I forgot.
Yes. How many dimes make up $1?
How many dimes?
Yeah.
Oh my god, we're doing math now? Why are you doing all the questions I can't answer?
Take a guess. You know this.
Dimes. Wait, I'm trying to remember what dimes are.
Oh my God.
Wait, $1?
Yeah.
Next question.
How many minutes are in half an hour?
60.
Yes.
Wait, half an hour? Yeah, 60, right?
In half an hour?
No, 45, 30. 30?
Which one?
45.
Which number? What number?
35.
Yes. You almost messed up. How many dimes make up $1?
1,000 or 100? 100.
Yes. What year was the U.S. founded?
What year?
Yeah.
Oh, you lost me with that one.
Around what year? You know this.
Around what year was founded? I feel like I should know this one.
I feel like you do know this one.
What year was it founded? Nah, you got it with that one. I don't know.
Guess like around what year, if you had to guess.
Nah, cause I'm gonna look.
Guess a year, you know.
A year.
Around when?
Founded. I'm gonna be like 1995. No.
94, 95.
95.
It was 94.
Oh my goodness.
Yo, what the fuck?
Yes. Do you know how long a quarter of an hour is?
A quarter of an hour, that's 25 minutes.
Yes. How many seasons are there?
5. Wait, spring, right? That's seasons. Spring, summer, winter, fall. 4. Spring, summer, winter, fall.
If you're driving 60 miles an hour and you've been driving for 1 hour, then how far do you travel?
I don't know, like 60 miles. I don't know.
What's a guess?
30 minutes? I don't know.
60 miles an hour.
Yeah. And you've been driving for an hour, then what's the distance you go? How far do you travel?
I don't drive, so I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't know.
God.
Take a guess. Like imagine you're in a car.
Okay, I can't go anymore.
I don't drive, so I don't know.
Oh my God. I know. I've seen this 3 times now or 4 times, and I think every time I've seen it, it's just, I'm in utter disbelief.
Yeah, it still gets me every time.
Yeah, me too. This is unreal.
Austin in chat says, we are geniuses. I feel so smart right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and that's exactly what they say in the comments. Yeah, well, I come here to Globebusters when I want to feel smart. It's like, like we're all so dumb that we make them feel smart. And it's like, oh my God. And it is so hard to see the truth, right? I mean, we know we're not stupid, but we sure as hell also know that they are, and not through any fault of their own necessarily. I mean, the system was designed to make them this way. And the bad part about it is because the amount of ego, and the I'm okay being me type of crap that they've instilled into them, they're proud of being stupid and they don't know any better. And it's sad. It's really sad. So anyway.
Yeah, Sammy in chat had a great idea. I wish he would have asked him, what shape is the Earth? I guarantee they all would have said, it's a ball.
Probably. Yep. Very likely. All righty then. Okay, so let's move on because, yeah, that's just sad.
We do have people in there saying it can't be real or whatever. And we have, or it's in the chat saying, oh, it's real. I'm in New York right now and they're everywhere. I've also been to Times Square and the channel that you're on right now, what is it? Fleets Talks? Is that the name of it?
Who? Leeds Talks?
Fleets Talks, I believe, is the name of the channel you're on right now that you have this video from.
Oh, I just closed it, but okay.
I believe it was Fleets Talks. That channel that you had, it has multiple videos on this, and a lot of people have been doing these videos where they're asking people, even on the late night shows where they go out on the street. It's real. It's sad, but it's real. They probably do cut out the people that answer well. Occasionally, they'll put 1 or 2 of them in there because it doesn't go along with what they're saying, but still. I think right now in New York City, again, the majority of them that stop and do this, you're getting enough comic in there that Flecka's. Thank you, TJ Hobbs.
Talks, yes.
Flecka's Talks. It definitely is out there and it's sad. And I think it speaks highly if you speak actually to the younger generation. They can't read cursive. They can't do a lot of things. And a lot of it is, again, where their concentration has been put at in the schools and how they're being taught right now and how everything is about being fair to everyone and looking at social issues instead of actually learning some basics.
Critical
just my
thought.
Critical thought. That's being taught out of them, by the way. Critical thought is being taught out of them.
Oh, I
And
know,
we have
like telling them to approximate something, and if they happen to approximate right on the money, they get it wrong because it was supposed to be approximate. I
right.
mean, I cannot believe some of the things. We showed a lot of this stuff over the years on Globebusters, that, people send us. It's just so amazing. Wow. But yeah,
Right.
they might be making your burgers. I know that's scary, isn't it? Those are the people that, well, I don't even want to go there. But anyway, all right, so let's move on. So one of the questions that we get um, quite often is, of course, why is it that boats disappear from the bottom up as they go over the horizon? And refraction is one thing. There's some technical terms to that, and a few different explanations for that. It actually can get fairly complex, but Zack is going to tell you all about that. And anytime you want me to play this video or anything like that, let me know, Zack, and take it away, sir.
Yeah, really. I mean, the video will be here in a second, but I listen to a lot of live flat Earth shows. Just the Discords. There's a couple different ones, and I hear that question brought up a lot about boats over the curve and this and that. And nobody, I mean, they all say angular resolution limit and things like that, which is great. That's good. But what's really causing this phenomena that we see about things disappearing from the bottom up is caused by diffraction. And when you're looking at, there's two types of diffraction. There's Fresnel diffraction and there's Fraunhofer diffraction. Now, Fresnel diffraction is when you're looking at your hand and it's real close to your face, but you still can't see every single skin cell on your hand. That's because it's too small and all those lines have blurred together. Well, that's Fresnel diffraction. That happens all the time at any distance. Well, Fraunhofer diffraction is the one that we really want to focus on. And you need to bring this up with people when they ask the question, why do boats disappear from the bottom? Because it gives them something to go and research that they can actually find real, solid data. And actually, a lot of presentations are done on this, the diffraction limit and things like that. But that's what's causing our angular resolution limit is diffraction. Now, refraction is something completely different. Diffraction will happen regardless of the atmosphere. Even if it was a perfect vacuum, diffraction would take place. This is something that happens because of optics and the circular aperture of a lens, like your iris, your pupil. Your pupil is a circle. Most camera lenses, most telescopes. There are rectilinear lenses, and that creates a slightly different diffraction pattern, but there still is one. But Fraunhofer diffraction in a circular aperture is going to create a band at 21 feet with perfect 20/20 vision, 0.02 degrees. You can make out up to about 2 millimeters at 21 feet. So anything smaller than 2 millimeters, if you had two lines right there, say running parallel with each other horizontally, once you got to 22 feet, that would look like one single line. Think of the headlights of a car. When they're right up next to you, they're 5.5, 6 feet apart on the back of your car. But as it's driving away, they slowly get closer and closer together, and eventually they become one light. That's diffraction, not being able to differentiate one light source from another to where they get so close with that angular limit that they have that they converge on each other and become one light source and mix. So in this video that we're going to take a watch here, this was done in a factory warehouse on the floor. Actually, I'll just let myself explain it in the video. It's not too long. And then we can talk about it after we're done. So go ahead, Bobo.
Okay, sounds good. Let's fire it up. Let me start it over at the beginning here and let her rip.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Good times for all here, or Zachary Zabala if you prefer. We are at work again, and I did a little bit something different this time. I measured that. It's an 11-inch piece of paper. I made a mark every inch. You have 2 lids here. One the circle at the bottom, one the circle at the top. And I was wrong about my measurement last time. It was not 170 yards. It was actually 160 yards down to that other end. Like an idiot, I took people's words for it. So I measured it this time myself. And from the lids here to the farthest marking that I take a picture from, it will be 153.3 yards away. I did that by 20 feet increments. I will be taking a picture every 20 feet. So tomorrow I'm hoping to get the exact height of what the Sears Tower should be, the Willis Tower, from this distance at this, to scale perspective. And we're going to see how much of the bottom gets taken off. But today we're just doing a little preliminary, and we're going to see what happens. So every 20 feet, I should be taking 23 pictures, I believe. And then at the end, I'll do one from eye height, which is roughly about 5.5. I'm going to have to get a tape measure out and see that one. But that probably won't be today. That'll be tomorrow. But yeah, hope you all enjoy this. We're going to see what happens. Oh, and I also wanted to mention one other thing. See all these lights here? They're all the same height. You see them down there? All those lights, they're not getting any lower. It's all about perspective, people. It looks like these lights are going down, 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 down. And then they set over those, Nothing is setting. It stays the same height. It's all about perspective. And then once you get so low to the ground and so far away, you'll see what happens. So I hope you enjoy this. This is experiment number 2 with diffraction. And I'll see you all down here at the other end.
All right, folks. I'd have to say, all in all, this experiment went pretty well. I'm not going to take too much time on each picture. Not until around 200 feet from 1.5 inches off the ground do you really start to see some good distortion. I mean, you can see it earlier, about 100 feet, you can start to see it. If I would take that blue line out of there, it's a very slight minimum. It was a warmer day on this day. I'm learning. I've done a couple experiments on this since this one, and I was able to actually see more than this one showed. So I believe diffraction is caused by the amount of humidity also in the air. The more moisture and humidity in the air, the more it has to look through and the more the objects get distorted. And of course, there's more humidity near the bottom, as the heavier water molecules and whatnot would be sinking. It's really interesting, folks, how all this works, how our eyes work. As you can see, the bottom is getting harder and harder to make out now, and they're starting to actually converge, the 2 circles from the mirroring effect. The mirrored one on the bottom is actually starting to combine with the actual image. So this is what we see.
Can you pause it right there for a second, Bobo?
Are always missing.
Yeah, right there. Now, as you can see, we can no longer see the blue line on the left or the right at the very bottom. It has pretty much turned white right there in the middle. That's because the white is the dominant color that you're seeing in that area. They're in the diffraction zone. And if you keep an eye, you'll see that the numbers, how they could be made out a lot better, they start blurring. You can still see the numbers at the top, but as you get closer to 1, it gets a lot harder to see right in there. You can see the 1 at the top, the 10. You can read that clearly. But along your line of sight is where this diffraction takes place. Wherever your point of view is focused at, that is where the diffraction pattern will happen, all across your horizontal plane of your eye. It doesn't happen just in the center. It will happen all along the plane. All righty, Bob.
Okay, continue on.
From long distances. It has nothing to do with the curve of the Earth. It is never the actual amount that should be missing, and it's usually very far from it. So, I mean, this is just how our eyes work. The bottom of things do disappear over distance. And then as you watch, here in a second, I'm going to go to eye level. There's about 3.5, 4 inches they're distorted. Then I go back up to eye level right here, and boom, you can see the whole thing again. So all those people saying that, oh, it doesn't matter how high you are, if on a flat plane you can't see more, blah, 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 they're wrong. Flat out wrong. So this is good times for all, everybody. Signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Now that was a real short, basic video. There have been some great people in the community that have gone into extreme depths on this. Free Flow comes to mind, the Free Flow channel. They've done so many observations out on water, over land, asphalt, all different kinds of things, showing how this diffraction takes place. And one thing I want to correct in there, the atmosphere isn't the cause of diffraction. It's strictly optical, but it will cause more distortion and a wider Fraunhofer diffraction zone in the center, the more particulate you have to look through. So it will affect it, but this will happen even in a perfect vacuum. Diffraction is a fundamental law of optical physics. You can't get around it. It's just part of how optics work in a circular aperture. So when you're out there and you're, battling the globies and trying to explain this to them, know about Fraunhofer diffraction. It will help. It will give you just a word that they can go research and learn from themselves without you having to try to explain this phenomena. Once they go and study that, if they actually do, it will hopefully click in and make a lot more sense for them. So that's pretty much it. I just want people to start expanding our explanation of things. Angular resolution limit is great. That's a great phrase to know and to help explain things. But this really knocks it home. The whole diffraction is the actual thing causing the angular resolution limit, and something that you can point others to go research.
All right. Brilliant. Okay. Any comments from panel?
I'm curious about the temperature in the warehouse there. That was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, actually, I did a lot of them the opposite way too. And at this end of the warehouse, as you can see, it's more storage. This is where we like inventory and whatnot. But at the other end, we're running these huge plastic mold injection machines that make 5-gallon buckets. And the temperature swing is enormous from one end down to the other. I did a video with a light source and it actually looked just like a setting sun. And when I did it from the other direction where there was a lot more heat and humidity, the light source actually just disappears like David Weiss's disappearing sun videos. You can actually see just a sliver of light trying to break through the mirrored image behind it.
That's fascinating.
Really cool. Yeah, really
Great
cool
observations
stuff.
Here. It was
And so
interesting
this
watching
is
the
some of
whole
my first stuff.
warped.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? And this is a perfectly flat floor. I mean, it's concrete, slabs. And I was well higher than any. I mean, of course, there's a couple bumps here and there in the floor, but nothing that was 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches.
Fraunhofer diffraction.
Yes.
And normally when I think of diffraction, I think of like diffusion. It's scattering the particles, the light through the different particles in the air in all directions. And so it's kind of.
Well, yeah, this is the scattering that takes place after it passes an edge. That's diffraction. It has to pass over an edge of something. It can be square, circular, it can be a flat line. But once it passes through something, these patterns They're just always there. These diffraction patterns, it's where the light is interfering with itself. It's like crisscrossing them.
The edge of the particles in the air.
Well, no, it's the edge of your pupil that it's passing through in your eye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your aperture. That's a big part in all of this. If you go and research Rayleigh's criterion, the equation, I believe it's radians equals 1.22 times the wavelength of light over the diameter of the aperture. So the bigger the diameter of the aperture, the less diffraction you'll have. That's why when you're taking pictures at long distances, it's best to try to do it with the least amount of zoom as you possibly can. The more you zoom in, the smaller your aperture gets and the more diffraction you will have. It's
I'm
also
thinking about
best.
owl eyes and how they have such large eyes and can see so far.
Yeah. And if you're wanting to take pictures of long distance objects like over water, don't put it right in the center of your picture. That's where the most diffraction is going to take place. I have a picture from Michigan City, Indiana to Chicago. It's like 39 miles, 38.8. And the whole time I was taking pictures, I was pointing directly at the skyline and I was getting some good pictures. And the last couple pictures, I tilted up and put the skyline along the bottom and I got the lights of Lakeshore Drive at 40 miles away. They were no more than 100 feet off the water and there should have been over 800 feet of curvature there.
Wow.
So just by tilting up my camera and putting what I was shooting at the bottom of my field of view, the diffraction pattern was above that. It was in the center. It's always in the center of your field of view. So you have above your field of view and below your field of view. And in the center, you'll have that diffraction pattern. So if you place that away from what you're shooting at, it increases the angle that you're looking at that object. So you get a better picture of it. Yeah, this is what I learned from studying diffraction. So yeah, it's one of those things that, there's a lot of new people out there and they want to go test stuff themselves. Let's make sure that they have the best knowledge of how to do this stuff and what they're actually doing with optics. Skyfree, there it is. Yeah, great channel.
Yeah. In addition to Zack's, work that he's done, Skyfree is an outstanding channel. They've done so many experiments that show, exactly why this works the way that it does. And, the globe, the only thing they have is, they have to come up with stuff like standard refraction, which is absurd. There's no such thing as standard refraction. And of course, it gives the benefit, of the doubt to the globe. Well, if you're seeing farther, that's okay. It's still within our tolerances. So there you have it. And, the reality of it is that there are real measurements and there's real science that explains this instead of a bunch of pseudoscience. So yeah, Skyfree is an excellent channel to watch for that. So you might want to check it out.
Okay, and I'd like to word it just a little bit differently, just because, again, I think different people understand things when explained to them differently. And the way that I could most simply explain this is using the words primary and modifier, saying that your primary information you're going to get is within the way that your receiver or your eye processes it and sees it. It's very measurable. It's very tested. There is a lot of science behind it. So be it your eyeball or be it a camera lens, again, the size of the aperture, these things are determining how you see them. Within that, now that you have what you can see with it, you can modify it. It's not your primary, but you can modify it with temperature, with humidity, with different actions. But remember, they can't change. They can only modify the way that you're seeing what's already there. They can only modify. It's like putting a lens between you and the object. They can only modify what's already. So they wouldn't be able to lift something up that's not there that you couldn't see, like they say with the ball earth, that the refraction can lift up something from behind the curve up into your vision. No, your tools have to, your eyeball is a tool. It has a limit to what it can see. It has a limit to angles, and your modifiers can only modify things within the range. And I think that's really important for people to distinguish, that a modifier cannot manifest new things into it. if that makes any sense. Did I make it clear, or did I just make it more confusing for everybody? But it was just a different way of breaking it up.
Oh, I understand what you mean. Exactly. Absolutely. So, okay. So cool. So anyway, hopefully that'll clear up a little bit of that. Because really so much when you're observing anything on a flat level motionless plane, your perspective is literally everything. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen that application that one of the ballers wrote it, but it's basically the personal atmospheric dome. I can't believe that he actually wrote that. He wrote it with the intention of trying to debunk flat Earth, but instead what he did is he wound up proving it over and over and over again. And I'm trying to remember his name. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll try and pull that up and put it in the show notes. But playing with that little tool really, really, really gives you an amazing insight into how our vision works and what the personal atmospheric dome is all about. And it also goes a long ways in explaining, the southern and northern star rotation, even though the simplest and most obvious explanation is simply that stars are always rotating east to west. It doesn't matter whether you're looking north or whether you're looking south, they're still rotating east to west. So the claim that they're spinning in opposite directions is absurd. That's I don't even believe you guys think that's a thing. It's like if you are looking at a picture on a ceiling and you walk to the other side of the room and look at it from the other side of the room, it's going to be upside down, right? And if it's in motion, whatever motions that are going to be there are going to be reversed. But still, the stars are all turning east to west. So, I mean, the Globers they're so funny. They actually think that they've got a bead on it, right? They understand how this flat Earth thing works, and that they're so convinced that it's impossible. But
I've had them tell me that the moon doesn't appear to do a wagon wheel in the sky as it goes past. I've had them actually just come out, and it's like they've never even tried to do any of the stuff that they talk about. It's not hard to go out and take a picture of the moon every hour, one night.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And you can watch it, and it's all due to perspective. It really is.
Yeah.
I've done videos on them. Yeah, perspective is everything.
Yes.
And a lot of people can't grasp it, especially when they turn around. It just throws everything right out the window for them for some reason.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Walter Bislin. That's right. It's Walter Bislin has got that app on there. And, it's amazing. He put that up there. Like I said, he's a baller, right? He's a baller debunker, if you will. And he wrote that to show us the impossibilities. But again, when you look at how that works, and then you combine that with like Ira's simulations of how the atmosphere is actually working and how our eyes look at it, it's a beautiful explanation. It really is. So gotta love it. Thank you, David, for that. I was just having a brain cramp, as I do that a lot these days. So, all right. So, anything else on that? Oh, wait a minute. I think there's a question here in a second. I'm looking at a question that says, how high do the high pressure balloons go and how long do they last before they burst? Also, is it long enough to film a sunrise to sunset that is longer than where at your location? Most of the high pressure balloons pop at around 100 to 120,000 feet. They do have them that go up to 200 plus thousand feet, but those bad boys are expensive as all get out.
And that's hydrogen, isn't it?
I don't know if they're hydrogen or not, but they're a different type of material that's, I guess it doesn't break as easy. And so, no, I would, there's no way that they would last from sunrise to sunset unless you are able to regulate the height on it by putting on like some sort of a static tethering system. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, but even at 120,000 feet, and when you think about it, if there was curvature, guys, you would be able to see it from the ground. And I say that because if you look in Colorado, say you're in Colorado, and you look at the plains, and then all of a sudden the Rocky Mountains start, Well, those mountains are actually coming up to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet. And as you're looking across the plain and then you continue panning across, looking to the mountains and how the horizon then goes up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 feet, you can easily see that, right? So if you're looking across 180 degrees and and there was actually, let's say a anywhere from 1 to 4,000 foot drop on that horizon, you would absolutely see it. Because remember, it's not with respect to the entire Earth, right? It's with respect to what you're already looking at, the horizon, right? Do you guys understand that? Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes
So
perfect sense.
it really does. So they, when they say you can't see the curvature from the ground, the hell you can't. You would be able to see it from the ground because you can see the opposite happening on the ground.
Yeah, I
And
think
so,
David did the math. It's like 80,000 foot. If you're flying 35,000 feet and the horizon is 200 miles away or however far you can see from that height, the curve should have taken it down to like 80,000 foot drop on both sides of you. You should not see the horizon out both sides of the window on each side. It should have dropped 80,000 feet to your sides, and it doesn't.
exactly. And there's just simply no way that you wouldn't be able to see that curvature. And that's the thing that kills me. The Globers want you to believe that you can see a boat going over the horizon, but yet looking left to right, which you're easily seeing probably, twice the distance, if not at the very least the very same distance, you would see some curvature, but you don't.
There should be the same amount of curvature going both on the x-axis and the z-axis.
Z-axis, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Sensible, he's actually getting ready to launch another balloon satellite up into the air and take videos of the curvature. And I don't know if you ever saw the Mage project from me before, when he sent his thing up and he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, look, I can see the curvature of the Earth." And I kind of pointed out, and no, it's not the curvature of the Earth. Yeah.
Have you not
do you remember
pointed
about
out
the
to
spotlight
him,
effect?
Kyle? Have you not pointed out to him that when they do that stupid scrunch maneuver, that the only thing you're looking at there is barrel distortion of the lens? Do they not
Yeah.
understand that?
Well, Mr. Sensible, he's got these strings set up around his camera that he's actually using to say, okay, this much, if it's beyond the strings, if it's more curved than the strings are, then that's kind of ruling out lens distortion. That's his whole setup there with the first one.
What
that
about
he did.
symmetry? What about the center being in the middle? That seldom ever happens. Or,
The-
the high point being in the center.
The high point of the...
When you scrunch it, when you scrunch it, and then all of a sudden you come up with this curve, except it's all lopsided. Like, the left side will be...
Yeah.
And
so we had a big discussion about that, and yeah, that was one of the videos I did on MC Toon's Scrunched Horizons. I totally put the kibosh on that.
Oh my God, that was so retarded. Well, Reg
Yeah.
Rhetoric and Sean Hufford originally came up with that, and they're sitting there acting like it was just the biggest thing since sliced bread, right? Because and then Jeran, of course, God bless him, he comes back and he goes, "This is so ridiculous. I can't even believe I have to show you this." And he takes a picture of his granite countertop in his kitchen, right? And then does that scrunch. And sure enough, you got all kinds of curvature there. Then he took another picture of a straight line on a monitor and says, "Okay, here it is." And he scrunches it and it's all completely, and again, this comes from the barrel distortion of the lens itself. It has nothing to do with curvature. And that is the most dishonest, ridiculous test I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I got to show you this here real quick.
Okay.
Okay, can you see this?
Screen
The
share?
spotlight?
Wait, let me switch over to you. Add to stream.
Yep, I see spotlights.
All right, we see spotlights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we get one spotlight, and it makes this big oval shape on the stage, but that stage is flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens with the sun. The same thing happens with the sun. It's brighter, like right directly underneath the sun, and as it gets farther away from it, it gradually dissipates. And so when the sun kind of has the spotlight effect on the Earth, it's the same concept. So something can look curved. The stage looks curved, but we get the spotlight effect from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing that they say too, that, oh, the only thing that can possibly make a spherical eclipse is a sphere over a sphere. And it's like, that is about the last thing that will make that happen. I mean, it's just amazing that they make all these claims, and then they'll say that, and yet they will put the shadow of a sphere over a flat picture of another sphere.
Every time.
Yeah, and these, of course, are the people.
Kyle, you did that, didn't you? Weren't you one of the people who really shared that out there? That a sphere on a sphere makes a Pepsi symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Not a spherical shape on it. Yeah.
That's just barely the beginning of the problems with it, right? I mean, when you reverse it, if you have a 70 mile wide umbra on an eclipse, and you turn it around and considering the size of ratio of the moon to the Earth, then you should have about a 250 mile umbra of the Earth on the moon, right? But it's way bigger than that. It's way bigger than the entire moon, right? How does that work? It's just absolutely unbelievable.
And how is the moon shadow only 70 miles wide when it crosses the Earth? Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the math with the Potter's Clay. He did a great video on that, and it's just hilarious. Just the proportions. The whole thing is that the shadow of the moon on the Earth should be proportional to the shadow of the Earth on the moon, but it's not. And that so yeah.
Yeah, we should see the whole Earth shadow on the moon if it were proportional. It would only be like 280 miles wide.
Exactly.
But yet it covers the whole moon, no problem, and then some.
Yeah.
Such a joke. Never even thought about that. That's a great one, Kyle.
Yeah. It's Potter's Clay. He's the one who brought it up. He's got a video on it. It's way worth seeing.
Yeah. Potter's Clay is another one that he has this ability to look at things with common sense and just say, hey, just like when he came out with the one that the moon is actually rotating at 10.2 miles per hour, which is essentially, think about it, if you get yourself on a treadmill, right, and you run as fast as you can, you're going to be running around 10, 11 miles an hour, right? And think about, then there's no atmosphere over the moon. So think about what that must have been like trying to run around and change directions on the moon, if that was actually ever happening. You'd be landing on your butt 90% of the time. That would have wrecked the rover, and there's no way they would have ever been able to land that lunar lander on it, lunacy lander.
No, they would have been able to jump and land in a different spot just by jumping straight up.
Yes, because that 10.2 miles an hour it's not taking the atmosphere with it, and the ballers are going to come back and say, oh no, because you got that conservation of momentum, it's taking with it. Yeah, what if you jump in a different direction from that, right? What if you're going east? What if that 10.2 miles an hour is going east and you jump north, south, or west? You're going to land on your butt because there's no way. It's like somebody cut your feet out from underneath you. And to try and land a craft like that, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it would be tricky. Absolutely, it'd be tricky. But
you'd want to at least do it once on Earth before you went to the moon and tried it, right?
Yeah, at least.
And isn't it they didn't land the lunar lander once on Earth?
No, not once.
Actually,
in fact, they
Neil
crashed
almost died. Yeah, a few weeks before they actually took off, Neil almost died in one of the crashes. He had to eject.
Yep, he punched out. So there you have it. Okay. So, Cami, so let's move over to you then. And people wanted to know a little bit more about, when you were tracing the sun's activity and comparing it to the financial markets. And interesting, we got some comments where other people had been doing that too and found a very profound connection. Gee, isn't that amazing? It's like looking to the stars for this information, right? So maybe there was something to it when God said, "Look to the stars for signs and whatnot," right? So, what do you want to say about that subject, Cami?
Okay, well, we'll start off with saying this is something I've been talking about for like 7 or 8 years in Flat Earth. And, I just mentioned it. I'm not up on many of the shows, but I talk to a lot of the creators that people have got a lot of interest in it. As people have started to check my work, they're finding out it's got a lot of truth in it, and it does have a lot of truth in it. And now they're starting to come up with the sciences behind it. That might even explain the truth. But we're going to start off with, I'm going to share screens with you. And then on
Okay.
these things, we can go, and this is, again, people bear with me. I am not a great presenter. I'm going to try to get through this and do the best I can. So let's see, share screen. And we're going to, hold on one second. Do the screen.
There were some people asking in chat, Cami. Did you happen to see that about what that is
What is?
on your
On my
camera?
on my camera. Maybe I should talk about that first really quickly. Let me cancel that, leave you up on my camera, and then take it under there. What I have here is just a fidget spinner type of thing, a toy, a novelty toy. And what it is simply a ball that twirls that's threaded like a screw, if you think about it, in a spiral. Oops, let's hold it up to the camera. You'll see it's nothing fancy, and I almost want to pull out and show like Mike Stellium, who I know is in chat, and that's some of the other toys going around there. But let's zoom in on it really quick. What happens with this one, of course, is if you spin it, you've got a nice little optical illusion going, almost very much like wave theory. If you look at waves where they're standing in place and yet you feel like the waves are moving across the ocean. This is what I really felt when I was looking at this gadget is it really reminded me of waves and wave theory, that these lines are not moving. They're not going anywhere. They're engraved on a ball and nothing is happening. This is just your perception of those lines going around in a circle.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
again,
cool.
it is pretty cool. So that is what's on my desk. Fun things on my desk from
Is it magnetic at all?
It's not magnetic at all, and it's just a round ball that's threaded on the outside. You can come and play with it. It's just, again, a knick-knack. It's not very big.
Would you show the bottom one real quick? We never really got to see what is like helping it spin. Is there like?
It's just like a little lazy Susan is what I would call it.
Okay.
In other words,
Alrighty.
it sits flat and it's allowed to rotate separately, so it sits up a little bit and can rotate separately from. And again, you'll see next to my thumbnail, it's not very big. It's just a fun little thing. If you take this out of the way right there, you'll look, what you're seeing in the background there are some of our finds when we went out rock hunting. And I think Stellium might have some interest in some of the things we had, because some of them definitely look like fossils or melted buildings, or any other way you want to do it. No, that's terrible in the little groups. But this is just, again, what you guys are used to sometimes as, if I move it up, the camera becomes river cam. Let's move her up. And the screen. So this is what I'm literally looking at right now, and what I get to look at every day. It's really a pleasure.
All we can see is the coarse fiber of the screen.
I know. That's the tricky part is getting it to with the camera. There we go. Focusing around. And this is interesting. This is my microscope camera. It's a great microscope camera. If anybody wants to know how to put together a good microscope for their work, so I have years and years of working with very expensive microscopes. And this is a fun thing to learn. The difference between the expensive microscopes and the cheap microscopes, a lot of it is having a diffused lighting back source that's built into it. And that seems to jump up the scopes a lot of the times over $1,000, where I was able to buy a diffused pad off of Amazon and rig up pieces of it to get a very high level microscope for under $100. Because again, it was really hard. In my old laboratory, I was used to working with over $5,000 microscope every day, and then going to nothing that was hard. So I couldn't justify spending $5,000 on a microscope or even finding a good deal. So I was able to rig up with digital and everything else. So a good system that I would say was very the outcome of it is really no different than my $5,000 microscope. So if anybody needed that information, that is fun too. But we will put back on my screen. Let's see, share that screen now. River Cam and screen 1. Share, we're going to talk about space weather. And everybody is like, hey, but space is fake. What Bob had playing before and what we can go over is how space is portrayed, or it is portrayed in the Helio model, but we need to take some of their data and say, how does this extrapolate to the flat Earth model? Because they really are taking data, they are getting good data, and we're able to see a lot of things going on. So what does this stuff mean?
Well, I think the most obvious thing is the proximity, right?
Is the proximity. You bring it in. Well, even on the proximity, if you did it, they say that we have a magnetic field that's protecting us from the sun and all of the radiation and the harmful rays and that. And on our model, the way I look at it is this sun is in the firmament, and what we are seeing is a projection down. I believe there is a field between what we're seeing, the sun in our atmosphere, and the actual sun. You guys can do with that what you want, but it works with so much work. Eric Dollard, every piece of information will point to the fact that what we are seeing is not the source of this up close and personal, is not the source of all of this radiation, that's really taking place on a layer above. And there is some type of boundary in between that and us called the magnetic field that's shielding us from a lot of the radiation and such. So are we following so far?
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the things that they track is the solar wind, which is another way of saying what ionic wind. It's when we do Zack and do the ionic wind in that, solar wind is an ionic wind. It's measured in protons per centimeter by speed and density. And this was something that I've been following space weather for 30 years. And it wasn't until sitting with Zack and his Van de Graaff generator and his Tesla coil and that where he made ionic wind that it's like, wait a minute, you can feel this wind. You can actually feel these particles hitting you. It's not just a visual or in a different spectrum. There's a feeling to the wind. You can knock out a camera with the wind. And I know we've covered this a lot.
I think that'll be one of the demonstrations or no, it's going to be the anti-gravity. I could do both of them, but yeah, because
at Blacktoberfest, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to find a way to make the wind stronger even.
Yeah, let me do something, because Zach, I don't think you've seen this. Cami, if you want to hold for a second, I'm going to.
Do you want me to stop my share a second?
No, I can just bring it back up here. So.
Okay.
Let's go share screen. That one. All right. So now Zach has done this before with his Van de Graaff generator, and of course this is part of the downward electrostatic vector theory that we've been operating on. But NASA's got this new propulsion technique that they've been working on for like 10 years, and they think it's going to actually take them out into space. And in fact, they're claiming that this is what's going to happen. But some of the tech that they have developed for it here on Earth is to put an ion drive or an ionic drive on a drone, right? So let's look and see what they've got for an ionic drive on the drone and see how it works. And I'll tell you how it won't work in space and why. So let's watch this for a second.
Roswell Flight Test Crew here at Commercial UAV Expo 2021 in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm standing here with Thomas Pribonic at the Undefined Technologies booth. Thomas, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Glad to be here at the show. Now, I saw this technology yesterday. You came up on stage and talked about it. And I'm going to be bluntly honest. I thought you were pulling my leg. I couldn't believe this thing you were showing us could actually fly. And tell me what we got going on here. I mean, there are no propellers. What's happening here?
That is correct. It's a new concept that we're developing at Undefined Technologies. It's an ion-propelled drone that energizes the air around the drone to generate propulsion downward in order to leave the craft.
I mean, I've heard of ionic propulsion used in satellites and like deep space probes. I couldn't conceive of the fact it would work in Earth's atmosphere and in Earth's gravity. How are you making that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Ionic propulsion in satellites.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. He's surprised that it would work on Earth when, in fact, that's really the only place it can work because there's not. There's not enough particulate matter to take on a charge to receive an electrostatic charge in space. It just simply cannot happen. And this, by the way, is going to be something that I'm going to include in a response to Raichi 0000, who has been trying to figure out Zack's and my downward electrostatic vector. And she keeps asking all these questions and stuff. So I'm going to answer that question here in a little bit. But when you understand that what is going on here with this drone, this is literally doing nothing more than what Zack did, changing the electrostatic potential, which was allowing things to go up and down. Karen B's little button, right, on his video. Seemingly like he's either increasing buoyancy or decreasing gravity or however you want to look at it, right? But all that's happening here is we are changing the bias that's going down to the earth of this field that is already naturally there, right? And this is exactly what's going on. You remember the 100 volts per meter electrostatic potential that we keep talking about? Well, this is exactly what this drone works on, right? So let's watch it and see how it actually
Same
flies.
stuff is going on in satellites, right?
Yeah. There's no way it'll work on a satellite. Not a chance in hell. But let's watch.
Definitely a technical challenge. So it uses the existing ions that are in the air that you and I are currently breathing, and enhances the amount of ions that are.
Yeah, he says, see, it says number 3, adaptable to different atmospheres, space exploration. Excuse me, but space isn't supposed to have an atmosphere, right?
Very true.
I mean, talk about stick it right in front of your face and then talk double speak. Unbelievable. All right, let's continue.
Are there, and by using the laws of attraction and repulsion, it attracts or repels the air in order to project the thrust in a desired way that we want.
Now, how do you do the things that all drones have to do, like control movement and the pitch, roll, and yaw axis? How do you do that?
Well, there's a lot of technologies that go into this, and I can only give you so much without charging a lot of money. But we use different techniques. One of them is controlling the different quadrants of the craft in order to provide different lift to different sections of the craft. That's to provide left, right, and pitch as well. The yaw is a little more tricky. You have to go into the different levels and generate different levels of ionic thrust just to get the type of flight dynamics that you want to get.
Tell us a little bit about this aircraft that you're using right now. What does it weigh? What payload can it carry? How long can it fly? Kind of the basics.
Okay, so we're starting off as a very young startup, correct? So the current craft that we have measures 5 by 5 feet in length and has a height of about 18 inches. All right, it can fly up to 15 minutes, carrying 2 pounds of payload.
Wow. I mean, for a propeller-driven drone of that size, that's not great. But for something which, near as I can tell, is flying by magic, that's pretty incredible.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely a technical challenge. We are, like I said, we're just starting in the development of this journey. The feedback we have received from the industry has been great because that's a tool that the industry really needs. Is a silent drone that is silent.
No, that's a good point. There are no propellers, so it's quiet when it flies?
It's extremely quiet, extremely quiet. So not even my own dog wakes up when I'm flying next to it. So,
well, it's extraordinary. I mean, I don't think I can say that enough. It's really amazing. So let's please keep in touch as you continue to develop this, because I am fascinated, and if I'm being honest, a little bit smitten. So Thomas, thanks so much for sharing it with us.
All right, thank you.
And it's so funny.
Spider flight, and how they can use the electrostatic in the air to fly.
Exactly, spider ballooning. Spider ballooning does it. This is exactly how spiders balloon. Is they are able to change the electrostatic potential of their silk thread when they spin it out. And NASA talks about it too. This is what their electrostatic ballooning is on their balloons, right, on their satellites. well, they call them satellites, but it's their balloons, and theoretically it would work also on a balloon without a doubt, because you're changing the electrostatic potential with respect to the natural electrostatic potential that is already there within the earth. It is this very same technology that uses this very same mechanism that keeps us glued to the ground, right? It's why things fall down. It's why we invented this force called gravity when gravity means weight, but it is the thing that gives weight its weight, right? This is all an electrostatic um, mechanism, point blank. And there's no doubt about this. I mean, it is so clear and so obvious. It's just ridiculous. But okay, so going back to this, now that we understand that, and mind you guys, I don't have to go and invent terms and invent forces, right? These are all things that can be tested in a lab. We know how they manifest. We know how they can manifest from electromagnetic type of things. We know how they transition. The only thing that we really have not covered is how these fields, these electromagnetic and electrostatic fields, interact with electrical components like inductors and capacitors and things like that to make the circuits do what they do so that we can have radio transmission and radar and all kinds of stuff like that. But we will get to that. We're definitely going to cover it. But I just want you to know that we're not dealing with anything that is unusual at all. This is very well-known technology. I've said it many times before that this is, as far as advancement in electrical engineering, we really haven't gone very far at all in the past 100 years. We've only miniaturized and made things faster, which is great. But as far as the basic technology behind it, it's all of it's over 100 years old, every bit of it. So
oh yeah, well over.
Yeah,
I keep looking at this. I'm thinking, like, how fast do you think this could go without when you eliminate a lot of the air resistance when you go up like really high, where there's just a thin atmosphere at a high altitude. Like, just imagine how fast this thing could fly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, because this electrostatic so profoundly affects us and our environment around us, obviously it's going to affect us in psychological ways, which of course then then responds to the money markets, etc. And what is one of the biggest thing that's putting out ionic or ions and ionic wind would be the sun. And this is where I'll hand it back over to Cami. Um, now that we know that what we're dealing with here is not woo-woo, it's very, very well known, guys, and it's been known for hundreds of years. But they just don't want you to forget it, because you know what? They want every one of us to be like those people I showed at the beginning of the video, just walking morons, right? Don't let that happen. This technology is here. We don't have to make anything up, and we can explain it very, very easily. So let's switch back over to Cami.
They're all claiming it's next gen, but it's not.
It's not. Let's put this back on screen. And if you put my screen back, we're gonna take. Oops, not that screen, but my other screen. You have a choice.
That one?
That's the one. Okay, so we're going to take it back to my loved page, spaceweather.com. As long as there's been an internet, Cami has been on spaceweather.com pages. I was there before Ben Davidson even. And so any of those following suspicious observers, a lot of these terms and a lot of these things will be familiar. For those that aren't, I have to say that studying this early on, it was a side project passion for me. It was a passion project. I wanted to understand space weather, and I felt there was a correlation to earthquakes. Something told me there was, and I was passionately trying to understand the science between those two phenomena in the background while working. While working, I was not the instigator of this, but I was the compiler of information where we were working in a lot of financial markets, and we had gurus, we had financial experts. I was not the financial expert. I was the person compiling data for them to work with. But at the same time, I had my side passions going, and I noticed that these two things were completely overlapping, and it was impossible not to see the pattern. So I'm going to show you the pattern I saw, and then it was like, why is this? How can this be? And again, it was something that did not make sense until you bring everything much closer into your level. But as soon as you put a lid on it and bring it into flat earth, everything starts making sense. So I'm going to start with a little bit of terminology on there and help make some sense out of it, and then we can get to the nitty gritty. But we're going to go down the page to like one of my, we'll go up to some of them. We're going to go to one of my favorite things, because this is what we're talking about, the interplanetary magnetic field. Now, that is something that if you go to videos and you go to tabs, there's not a whole lot of information on it. So let me show you what they say it is. And again, instead of going all the way around us, which does not work, and when we show some videos, I can show you how it cannot work in reality and with magnetic patterns. But if you put a lid on it and put it in the south into flat earth, it all of a sudden starts making all kinds of sense. So the interplanetary magnetic field, which is right here going, if we wanted to know what that was and looking for a description of it, here, let's go over here first. They say the interplanetary magnetic field, the IMF, now more currently referred to as the heliospheric magnetic field, the HMF, which is going to be tied into the current sheet, which we have covered before, is the component of the solar magnetic field that is dragged out from the solar corona by the solar wind to fill the solar system. It fills it with corona and solar wind plasma. I'm going to go here. What they are talking about, if you see my screen in this, they're talking about this boundary here where we're flying through space or whatever, and this boundary area, the conditions of the boundary. So it's, if you put this in a flat earth model, what you want to do is say, this is the magnetic field boundary between here and the firmament. This is our readings, and we have a magnetic field against a magnetic field because we're going to agree upon that. And if you move it up to the firmament there, you're going to say this is our magnetic field and acting against it, but we're not going to have this crazy tail flying. You're just going to keep it straight. You're going to lay it out. And when you do that, all of a sudden it makes sense. Just like this magnetic field that they show flying out here, anybody that has dealt with magnetic fields understands that these are self-sustaining systems. They feed up onto themselves. They don't fly into space and end. They have to wrap themselves around and come and feed the top. They have to loop around. It is a looping system. Now, when we do a little bit more, it's going to be talking about solar minimum and maximum and how it resembles magnetic, and you have the loops that are changing around. But they also, hold on, where is the, wanted to find, I had a line outlined that basically on the outline that is it again, it's where the two come together. And what happens when the field goes south, this is my husband's being so much better at presenting with me, but you're going to find that when the system goes south and your limits, you're going to have your Alphean surface, and that this is all fabulous. But when you're, what happens is when it goes south, the two fields meet up, and the energy, it becomes like a magnet where again all the energy starts pulling up from the top and into our field. In other words, the fields connect. So when that it pulls into the south, and this is bad because I had this all. This is my bad presenting, sweetheart.
That's okay. Well, essentially,
this is. It's just saying that think of a magnet where it's going to do it way. Look, it's going to say that when they come together, and I had it like all ready to go. That was a
No, that's okay. You'll get better at it. But essentially, what's happening here is, with the change, the ebb and flow of the sun's electrostatic flow, you're going to get condition changes where it will alternate more into a magnetic type of field. and then more of electrostatic. And of course, if anybody is familiar with magnetics, there are actually a lot of people that are very aware that magnetics can have a very healing effect on the body, right?
That is correct.
So this is something that it would affect the body in a very favorable way. And this is something, again, that is brought about in this cycle that the sun goes through as it puts out this electrostatic field, if you will, right?
I've always seen those over at like all the different fairs and little swap meets and such like that, where they're always giving out those magnetic bracelets. Oh yeah, this is gonna heal your body. But my biggest concern about those is what happens if I get like a clump of iron stuck into me or something like that because of that. And that was always my biggest concern.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry
I don't
about
think.
that. And
Yeah, I don't either.
if it was one of those big ass neodymium, that may be different. But the little small,
Yeah, I carry 2 magnets around with me everywhere I go. Just, you never know when you might need a magnet.
I need them all the time. I also carry a magnet on, and I check rocks for being magnetic. I check everything for being it. I do not walk around without magnets on me. I don't, little ones, just to test things. You never know when you might need it. And magnets are one of those things that where other people have lipstick in their purse, I have magnets and UV in mine. But
That's cool.
thankfully, not
UV.
too many. Yeah, UV. We're gonna get into that too, and protected on it.
Cool.
But here, this was the sentence I wanted to do. When the BZ is south, when this index is south, and this is the index I've been talking about, when the BZ index is south, that is opposites Earth magnetic field. The two fields link up, explains Charles Russell. You can follow the field line from Earth directly into the solar wind, or from the solar wind to Earth. South pointing BZs open a door through which energy from the solar wind can reach Earth's atmosphere. So there is something special. I am finding this now, but what I did notice is going back, this used to be, this page here is like a lot of pages that as we've gone along have gotten worse. In other words, the interplanetary magnetic field used to be, it looked like a dashboard on your car where you could see a needle going back and forth. And I ran it as a little app at the bottom of my screen that I could just watch it flicker.
Yeah, that was cool.
Bob knew it. It was always on my screen. And so while I was doing other things, there was a little dashboard in the very bottom right-hand corner of my screen where you do icons that just had a needle going like a speedometer. And it tells you where the wind was and if it was pulling into the south, and you could see it fluctuating. Well, what I happened to notice is that on trading, this BZ index here, that you can go and get all kinds of information, charts and that, by clicking into it on the different lines. Here's your BZ right here on your mark, and it's going to give it, your BZ was your yellow one there, or if you go into Discover, it'll give you different ways to pick it up. This is all a joy now to work with. It really is. But I noticed that when that needle was going all around, regardless of listening to the girls talk about me, they were trading, they were expecting, they were following all of the market conditions on when to exchange money and when to do things. And you would notice that when people are following the market, when one thing goes down, when the stock market goes down, gold goes up, there's always this trade-off. But I noticed something interesting. When the BZ pulled down into the south, and the more heavily and more erratic it was, it didn't, everything that was supposed to happen didn't. In other words, people got uneasy. I also noticed people right now, this morning, it was really down this morning.
Yeah, they'd lose confidence in the markets. Yep.
They lose confidence in themselves. They feel edgy. They feel uncomfortable. And they don't know why. You just feel edgy. You don't feel trust. You don't feel at ease. But
It's
I
also
noticed
connected to your arthritis, Cami, so it definitely affects us.
it affects
I
us.
know
And it
you
affects,
follow the BZ index a lot because it tells you what kind of day you're going to have with your hands.
it does. I swell up for it. People react to it. Now, what they're starting to do in science now, and I've never seen anything, this was just a mystery, that why the people were doing the money. I noticed that this was going on. It was unmistakable. And I threw it at the girls and they were like, you're absolutely right. But I was giving it to them in real time which could not help them. In other words, I would say like, oh, our market is that, so your numbers are going. I could talk to them in real time. The predictive tools weren't up there then. There are predictive tools that are up there, and I'm out of the financial market.
You're saying there's a connection between the stock market and astrological numbers?
Yes, I'm saying that there's a direct, that when your BZ goes into the south, I can tell you that all of the markets will go down, or if they're all supposed to go up, they won't go up as much as they should go. This is after years and years of watching it, that this will affect the market across the board in a negative way.
I wonder
And
how
if it's to
chemtrails
the
are
now,
affecting these things. They're trying to like alter the kinds of rays that are kind of coming in at us, or something like that, trying to force astrology or something like that. I don't know.
Now, I did notice that when it went to the north, it didn't matter how much it went to the north. It didn't like go to the north and then everything went better. This is only something I noticed. And again, it's not always hanging out in the south. You can go for years without it going to the south, or I mean, it just fluctuates. Right now, it's been doing it a lot more lately, but it does not live down there. It does not live in the south. And so normally it's sitting there, or it's a very minute number. It's very close to 0 or a 5.
What doesn't live in the south?
This number where it says BZ, and right now we have it living at, we have it sitting in the south right now as we speak during the show. But you'll see that like it can stay in the north for a long time. This pulling down into the south. And if you see the scale, it's 5, it's got 10 on it now. This scale will normally sit between 0 and 5 by itself. They will only expand it when conditions are going, and you'll see this. I've seen it expanded out to 20, 25 before, where again, it doesn't look any more, it doesn't look any different when they expand it. So you have to be careful, you know what you're looking at, and look at your side grids here.
So this is like a spectrum of electromagnetic waves or something?
This is kind of pointing like the door between the firmament and here, or the radiation coming in, the magnetic field's locking, that when this pulls into the south,
different kinds of radiation.
Things get to us that don't normally, and it seems to make people very, very uneasy. And I can tell you it affects the financial markets, because I watched it in progress doing it over 20 years of day in, day out, watching it. And I would tell people they would be worried about what's going on, and I would get phone calls saying, Cami, what's going on with the market? Tell me that your market, that we're way in the south and this is crazy, because in the south it will recover, right? And I would say that and they would feel better. We never predicted, but I have mentioned this on many shows, so I wanted to let people know how I got to it, or why I'm not just spouting woo-woo on it, and how now the science, if you look at it, is putting out things like, they're learning, this is a brand new article, August 4th. Scientists are finding that strong magnetic fields can relieve anxiety and depression. So they're acknowledging that magnetics, and again, whatever type of energies we're getting, will definitely have an effect on our mood. And that's something that I've been calling out for years. Go ahead.
But to be fair, though, scientists are also telling us that aspirin are causing heart attacks now. Happiness is causing heart attacks.
That's true.
All this retarded stuff. So, obviously take it with a grain of salt. But in this particular area, I would say that there's a pretty good probability that this is actually true. But
this one, test it yourself. Again,
yeah,
it's just to test it yourself and see if you come up with what I have over it. But I recognize patterns. Pattern recognition is probably, if you gave me one strength, as far as some people can sing, which I can't. Some people can do math in their head really good. Some people can remember and present so well, like my husband. If I had to have a skill that I would say would be my strongest, it would be pattern recognition. And these patterns overlaid so perfectly. It was scary. So this is what I talked about there. If you were to go into, do you remember I sent you a video that said play at 1.75 speed or 1.5 speed?
Yep.
If you were to play that and we were to analyze on there, this can answer a lot of our other questions with Flat Earth too. And I'm not in the chat, so if you see any questions from anybody, because I don't present well enough on my own without stopping and looking at the chat, let me know if there's any questions on it.
I have two of them. Is it the 5-minute, the one that's titled Earth's Magnetic Field Earth itself is a huge magnet, or is it the one that's titled The Magnetic Fields of the Solar System, which is 5 minutes?
I think it's the 5-minute one that I said to play at a fast speed. Let me see what I sent you. It would be the one that I sent to you and closed it. It would be the one that find it right here. Hold on. The one that said Earth's magnetic field itself is a huge magnet. The one that was 5 minutes. If you wouldn't mind like playing that at a faster speed, because it covers a lot of fun things on it. And I might have you pause during it.
All right, we go to 1 1/4, and we are sharing. And here we go.
Earth itself is a huge magnet. This animation depicts Earth's magnetic field lines as viewed from outer space. This is Earth's magnetosphere.
And just start talking and I'll pause it. Okay?
Okay. Okay. So they're showing it from outer space. And you'll notice too that when they pull away from it, they're going to have it wandering off, which again can't be real, but that's just nonsense.
Okay, continue.
They're also going to say that it's a, well, this one had the convection currents and you were going to cover that, but go ahead.
Okay.
Magnetic field is similar to that of a bar magnet. But you'll notice that the field lines far away from Earth, they bend away. This is due to the ionized solar wind from the sun that encounters Earth. As we discuss elsewhere, Earth's magnetosphere acts as a shield, protecting us from the energetic solar wind. The source
critical
of Earth's
thinking skills that does not pass.
Yeah, well, obviously, because, yeah, we know why.
Yeah.
So just ignore that.
Okay.
Solar wind is so strong that it can give a comet its tail, right? That's the big claim. But it's not, there's not enough of it to cause any kind of significant refraction, right?
Yeah. The land of the double standard. Let's continue.
Okay.
Oops. Yeah.
Most investigators, however, attribute the field to convection currents within Earth's interior. What we do know is that the direction and strength of Earth's magnetic field changes over time. Let's explore this. First, if you hold a compass at either Earth's north or south magnetic pole, the needle would face vertically, straight up and down. Earth's magnetic pole is located where the magnetic field lines are perpendicular to Earth's surface. Earth, however, it's a complicated and rather dynamic planet. Because of this...
Yeah, they say that only because they don't have a damn clue what's going on because nothing makes any sense for them. Because we're not on a sphere. Therefore, none of the magnetic fields match anything you would expect coming from a sphere. And so what do? They convolute it by saying, well, it's rather complicated and dynamic and makes it kind of hard to understand, but, we're right on top of it. They don't have a clue, people. Not a clue. Let's continue.
The magnetic poles are not necessarily fixed at the same location. We find that the magnetic poles tend to wander. Here's a map showing the location of the northern magnetic pole over the past few centuries. As of 2020, the Earth's magnetic pole in the northern hemisphere is slowly moving on a path from Arctic Canada to northern Siberia. As shown on this magnetic declination map, the magnetic field lines along Earth's surface don't always point to the magnetic poles. This map is useful in navigation to show how far off your compass is reading from the geographic pole.
Stop.
Of course.
Okay.
This is how it's useful, but this is why they say it's convoluted, is their declination map or their pattern, which would be if you dropped made it small and dropped metal filings on it, their declination map does not look anything like a dipole. Nothing like a dipole. So that's a problem with it, but they are saying this is going to be a good point. Also, the wandering pole on there, I'm going to like the way that they're going to pull it together at the end and make it take millions of years, which I'm going to disagree with. But again, this is applying critical thinking to watching the information and saying what's real, what's not real, by what can you test and what's pure shenanigans.
Yep.
This is your quadrupole map, right?
Yes, this is what comes out to be the quadrupole map. And they're explaining that, again, if you look at that and how they're lining it up with the lines, the compass does not even point to what they call the North Pole that's going around. It only follows the magnetic field line. So what they're talking about, when they're talking about their magnetic North Pole, it's total shenanigans, and we're going to get to that too. This video is going to explain why, which is why we're playing it.
And Dr. Ryan says, how can it be perpendicular to a curved surface? Now there you go, Ryan. You're not supposed to be thinking like that.
that is critically thinking, right? And
Yes,
I
that
appreciate
makes too
it.
much sense.
That'll
So
get you kicked out of public school there, Ryan. Be careful.
Yep,
People
absolutely.
too, when you're looking at your magnetic declination line, remember, basically red and blue lines mean that you're going to have to either shift one direction or another direction to face the North Pole. And those green lines, if you're along the green lines there, you don't have to move your body, or your compass is going to point right to true north. Go ahead and make sense on that on a dipole. That green line is going to point directly to geocentric under Polaris north, and they're going to show you how many norths we're going to put in here for convolution, which, by the way, it's not even a north magnetic pole. It's anything but that. It's the receiving end, not the putting out end. So keep going.
Okay.
Because Earth is a complicated and dynamic planet, these declination maps always need to be updated. Today, however, navigation is done primarily through our network of global positioning satellites, also known as GPS.
Which means
now, zoom out.
Which means too, which also means that we're going to train you not even to look at declination or anything anymore. You don't need it anymore. Just trust what we tell you. That's another thing like cursive writing, but forget about it in the next generation. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, and one other thing I want to say really quick too is I have to wonder how much the particle accelerators are causing this acceleration of the North Pole moving all over the place. You know, we talked about that last week, but that really bothers me when you start looking at all the particle accelerators and the effect that they have on plasma. It's like scary stuff. Let's continue.
Yeah. Well, hold on one second, Bob, real quick.
Okay.
GPS. It's not from the 1990s. It's the old Jeran system from World War II, just on steroids. That's all it is. It's been around a lot longer than satellites.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with these things floating above our heads telling us where we are. It's all ground-based, and that's why it doesn't work out over the ocean. That's why we have to go to approximations when we're following planes over the South Pacific and South Atlantic. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's Jeran C system is what they're using, you know. And there's so many places that it doesn't work, especially in the South Pole, allegedly.
I mean, there's places in New Mexico that it didn't work. I had a Magellan GPS that was supposedly hooked to satellites, right? And driving out in New Mexico, not even in the mountains, I was in flat, but like where nobody goes in New Mexico. I was out there. And my GPS could not find satellite.
Yep, pretty crazy. All right, let's continue.
Point of view, and you'll see the field lines appear to merge at a location that is actually different from the magnetic poles. This broad-scale view of a magnetic pole is called the geomagnetic pole. I know. Geomagnetic pole sounds an awful lot like magnetic pole, but there's a difference.
And by the way, guys, this geomagnetic pole that the northern lights or the aurora borealis circles around, right down here somewhere, right in about the middle of all this is a place called Thule Air Force Base, right? So they got a military.
Thule, where Thule was
and
Greenway, Thule, and that arrow is pointing right to Thule. They're talking about the islands and that, but this
just a coincidence, right?
Just a coincidence. So when they're moving things around, this has always been my thing too, is why when we have our magnetic pole and our geographic pole, why the heck is it that our auroras and all of our phenomena is not going around our magnetic pole? It should be going, if there's really a magnetic pole there, the stuff should be going around that in the circle. It should be in the middle of the circle. It shouldn't be at the edge of the circle if that was really a magnetic pole. In
Yep.
other words, your aurora are electric phenomena. This is electromagnetic phenomena. This should be, again, in magnetics, it should be in the middle. It's not. It's the geomagnetic pole. This is more deception going on there with our magnetic pole floating. Go ahead and listen to what they have to say on here, though. They did something, again, it was new info on me on here. It was kind of good.
Yeah, but I just think it's quite the coincidence that, right
Yes.
exactly in the middle of that, they just happen to put an Air Force base and then call it Thule. It's like unbelievable. I wish I could have been stationed at that, but whatever.
Well, yeah, Joe Hogan in chat just threw up, the Thule Society. The Nazi, like, high-ranking part of it was their secret society that dealt with the occult.
Mm-hmm. This, of course, is where the black sun energies supposedly emanate from, and the Nazis were all about the black sun. I mean, but nothing to see here, folks. Just keep moving along.
I'm gonna have to
This
look
was
more
awesome.
into that. The Nazis into the black sun. I'll definitely have to look more into that.
Oh, they were all over it, Kyle.
This was
yeah.
Oops, I was going to say also that this was when Trump was president. This was a huge thing in the news all of the time, that he was trying to buy Greenland or take over Greenland and this Air Force base and everything and take possession of it. If you guys remember, it just all happens to be where we have our big base there. And if you drew a line underneath the aurora, is the center where it would center out there, which is pretty, again, it makes it's a lot of coincidences that you would want to look into. Why are we so interested in this one Air Force base? What is it all about it? And why is it right when you draw a circle with the auroras? Why is it right there?
Yep,
But go ahead
exactly.
with the
All right. Nothing to see here, though, folks. Let's
nothing to
continue.
see here.
The magnetic pole is located where a compass points in a direction perpendicular to the surface, straight up and down. The geomagnetic pole is like the average of all the variations found across the planet. It's what ions from outer space encounter, which
Stop
is why
it.
the aurora are
Okay, so our geomagnetic pole, which is the center of the aurora, is only an average. They're telling us it's only an average, and the auroras know to go around not where the pole really is, but our auroras are so smart that they know to go around the average of it instead of where the magnetic pole is. Think about that. That is retarded. So they're saying the magnetic pole is over there off to the left. Our geomagnetic pole is an average of all of these places it's been and is going, and yet our auroras know to circle perfectly over that.
Yeah, amazing.
That's pretty smart of them to know the average.
It's called
be able
it's
to,
called real good
is it
engineering.
really good engineering? They normalized. What did they do? They normalized the numbers, and they got the auroras to follow their rough estimation of where the average out at, because they needed to introduce something right there because of the fact that people are noticing that. I know in our show I put out 5 years ago that 5 or 6 years ago, things are spinning around there and not the magnetic pole. So this is, again, the first time I've seen this addressed in a video, and I like it.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Let's continue.
generally centered about the geomagnetic poles. The northern geomagnetic pole is currently somewhere over Ellesmere Island in northern Canada, which is different from the location of the magnetic pole, which of course is different from the geographic pole. Here's another fun fact. The geomagnetic poles are not currently aligned to the geographic poles, true, but over thousands of years, they migrate around the geographic poles. Average out the positions of the geomagnetic poles over thousands of years, and you'll find you've got the position of the geographic pole. Well, that's interesting.
Stop it again. Maybe thousands of years on this, because I would say the precession of the equinox and our stars and that and where things are probably do have pull on this. They affect us. We're underneath it, and they could pull it off a little bit. So that to me is more intriguing.
But it's really hard to say, especially in this day and
Right.
age, what's natural and what's artificially causing it.
Right.
But it's crazy. Let's continue.
Even more interesting, the magnetic poles sometimes flip orientation. North becomes south and south becomes north. How do we know this?
This is
the
important.
Most direct evidence comes from ocean seafloors. As parts of the floor spread apart, metal containing molten rock solidifies and thereby captures the orientation of the magnetic poles at that time.
Stop it here.
Studies of the ocean.
Okay. when everybody talks about pole flips and it weakening and things like this, and us doing all of the world is going to end and pole flip mania and how we are so overdue and it's based on this, I want you guys to all know they're basing it off of saying that there are rows of it. Look at it. There's nice little slices where, again, iron and that as it lays out, it's going to align itself with the magnetic field. It's going to naturally align itself like your compass does, free floating on your compass and points it. So these things that have iron in it are going to orientate themselves with the magnetic field, right? And this is in the ground. So they're saying that, oh, we have all of these perfect slices underneath the ground. So this, first of all, they're not accounting for is their globe growing as these things are pushing out on the floor. This is retarded that they're coming up with a pole flip based on this. To me, if you've ever looked at quantum locking in any of the type of things where you're floating and levitating things over the magnetic tracks, what you would have is you alternate your pattern, just like your checkerboard when you get into your occult stuff. You put in these slices in order to get things to orbit correctly and stay in a line over it. So could this perhaps be built into the model itself, into the creation that we have this track underneath that things would orbit, stay between? It would be a way to establish. In other words, to me, it would be a way to establish the pattern of things going to have this type of intelligent design. And instead, they lead us to believe that there's going to be a pole flip because all of think about it, as stuff pushes out from the bottom, it pushes sideways in different 700,000 year slats of perfect alignment. Therefore, it must mean the poles flipped.
Yeah, and I think, I think one thing that gives that a little bit of credence is, especially if you're considering the idea that there's more land out there, more continents, more, little Earths all over the place. Because then you have to kind of take into consideration the function of the whole mechanism, right? Not just our little part of it here. So it's very possible. I mean, it could be something that is, energetically changing all around all the little continents of that, like the Japanese map that they're showing. I don't know, just speculation, just throwing it out
I don't
there.
know how that went. I don't know how that went tied in at all, but I maybe missed that. We all see things differently, but I am saying that we probably didn't grow, that these are there, but they don't necessarily mean that there has been a pole flip. It could have been designed this way. This could be the nature of the design, not an expansion on it. And of course, anything rising up right now and building is going to anything added is going to lie up with our current magnetic pattern, but they're assuming that we've expanded and our globe has gone from a P to their giant model by pushing out layers from underneath it. Again, each time you push a layer, you're creating more surface. I guess they have buckling. Maybe the mountains are buckling it the other way, but this is not realistic at all. Again, it does not mean that there has been a pole shift in the past, nor does it point to one in the future. It's very poor reasoning on my part, and this is their proof of this is their proof of pole shifts throughout time, by the way, is that there is intelligent design to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, they take spitballing to a whole new level. The difference is they call it science, and it's like, get real, So at least we call it what it is. If we're spitballing on something, we're going to identify it as such. But yeah, you're right. Their explanations are ridiculous. All right, let's continue on.
Where the magnetic orientation of minerals making up the floor are flipped in the same way on opposite sides of the ocean ridge. This allows us to date the timing of magnetic reversals, the last one occurring about 700,000 years ago. But does the magnetic field disappear during a reversal? Geologic records show that past reversals have had no significant impact on life forms. This suggests while the magnetic field might.
And again, on their thing, when they're drawing their magnetic fields going outward and putting in their flips, there's no basis. I stopped it. I lost my train of thought of it. It just made me mad doing it.
How would they replicate that? It's like
Well,
you can have
700,000
a spherical
years.
magnetic
Yeah.
ball, and you can try.
I know that. And the thought of it too. Other places we take our are information up and down vertically, saying that things that are lower are older and things that are on the surface are newer. Now, all of a sudden on the ocean, it runs side to side by age, meaning that the ones that are further away from the crack are the oldest and the ones newer to the crack are the newest. Again, look at how they're running time here. They do it for their own convenience. It's no longer running up and down. They're drawing it sideways and saying it's pushing out completely sideways, and there's no up and down growth. Nothing dies in the ocean. There's no other layers that are added to the ground on it. Think about it. Again, they turned it sideways and said, in the ocean it's more convenient to measure it horizontally than vertically and call it time in that direction.
Ridiculous. All right, let's play out the last minute here.
Weakened during a flip, enough remains to deflect solar winds. Geologic records also show that a reversal only takes hundreds or thousands of years to occur, which is rather quick on geological timescales. The next magnetic reversal, it could happen any time. But for now, you can rest easy.
You could die.
Of Earth's dynamic magnetic field. Good energy.
Yep. Dynamic, of course, in this context translates to, well, call it dynamic because we don't have a freaking clue what's really going on. So we'll just call it dynamic.
Yeah. The moment you get rid of that, that's when the solar wind is supposed to just plaster the earth, right? And just kill everything. If it wasn't for the magnetosphere, that's what's protecting us. That's the invisible Star Trek force field, right? And so,
yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, Cam, you got anything else? Because we're over 2 hours again. So
no, I think that's enough. And I know that I definitely covered the BZ index and how it did the market. So I did what I accomplished to do, and we threw in some more on it. Unless anybody has any questions on it for another show, I think that was it.
Okay, well, they can leave it in the comments and we'll cover it again. As far as Rachel's question, I think what I'm going to do is I will write back to her in the comments and then cover it on Sunday. And I'll just have it organized a little bit better then, because I know a lot of people, especially those that are following this dumbass relative density disequilibrium theory, really want to understand what's going on here. And so, I hear you. We're going to explain it, and we're going to explain why that doesn't work and this does work. But
yeah, you should send her the video of me playing with the Faraday cage itself and measuring the electric field and showing that the electric field inside goes up as you rise the box in elevation.
Right. Well, what she's stuck on now is she's stuck on, because basically she thought she had it all debunked because
Eric Dubay said so.
She was thinking that the Faraday cage blocked electrostatic, right? And there are some hints that there are some pages that say that, but not in the way she's thinking, right?
Yeah, electrostatic surge, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that, like a big pulse.
Yeah,
it'll dampen it.
And that, and the other thing is that every material on Earth is subject to electrostatic influence. Therefore, you cannot block something that is within the field, right? Between the earth ground and the firmament, anything that is in between that is within the field, and you cannot block that type of energy. What you can do is you can override it with a higher voltage, a higher potential, and this is exactly what Zack did, and this is what they do when they produce these ionic wind type of things, right? But you can't override it, and Faraday cages do not block electrostatic fields, and I will go into that even more. But there are there's definitely some pages out there that say that it does, but then they don't explain it. Like anything else, they try and muddy the water because there's another agenda that they have to, basically let pass without them debunking it themselves.
Light itself is supposed to be an electromagnetic field, and yet light can get through a Faraday cage.
Yeah, this is electrostatic, though. It's a little different than electromagnetic. Electrostatic is a different type of wave. It's a scalar wave, and not a transverse longitudinal one. It's not electricity and magnetism crossing. This is strictly electricity. There's no
Right.
magnetism in the electric
Okay,
field.
so
And even
the Faraday
electromagnetic
cage
waves.
doesn't block everything. Is the point? It blocks some, but
Right.
not everything. And
Well, it
Yeah.
depends on what it's made out of too. Like if you're using a screen, basically what it comes down to, what really makes the difference, Kyle, is the wavelength or the distance in between like the screens. A lot of Faraday cages have screens in them, and you have to have a smaller screen incidence, right, on the matrix of the screen than the wavelength that it
Yeah,
will
your
pass.
microwave. Look at your
Right.
microwave. The metal screen with all the little holes. Those holes are there to block. No microwave can fit through that little hole. It's just small enough to where the microwave doesn't pass through it, so you're safe. But
Exactly.
you can still look inside. That's what those little holes are for.
So that comes back to understanding, wavelength, and that's why it does that. But yeah, I will cover it. I'll cover it on Sunday, Rachie. Sorry I didn't get to it today, but I'm trying to keep these shows a little bit shorter, and we'll do it then. All right, guys. So let me go around. Let me go around one last time and see what anybody has. Kyle, you got anything coming up?
I was thinking of now that I've got this whole interview thing done with Cindy over there with with her whole story, which is amazing. I think I'm gonna go back and try to do that orphan red experiment here with the colored water of the red water and the blue water, and watch how that the refraction rate. I want to do the experiment myself before I go get that all published.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, it's awesome. And if you guys haven't seen his interview with Cindy, her parents were serial killers. Wow, crazy stuff, man.
She's an amazing person. Oh my goodness. Just especially after all of that she's gone through and just how together she is. And yeah, it's phenomenal. It's amazing just what kind of people you meet going to these flat earth meetups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a few people that have come through the flat earth community that, Nathan Reynolds is another one of the famous Reynolds clan, or, Reynolds rap, stuff like that.
Yeah, his story is amazing.
Wow, his story will blow your mind.
It verified all those crazy things I used to tell people about secret societies and how they raise their children. His story verified all of that.
Yep. Every bit of it.
You go listen to his story, and yeah, you kind of understand why some of these people are the way they are. It's because they were raised this way. They didn't become evil. They were raised to think that you are less than they are, that you're not even a human. You're cattle to them. You're an animal. That's how they look at it. It's wild.
It's sad how this world ever got this way. And this really is what, gives me pause about, what's really going on in this world and why I have doubts about certain deities' benevolence or malevolence. But, try and keep a positive attitude about it. But, I think you don't have to be a genius to see there's a lot of darkness in this world. It's sad. So there you have it. All right. Zack, what you got coming up, sir? Anything special?
Tesla coil Saturday. So I'm sure I will be going live Saturday for sure. I can guarantee that. As long as it works and everything works good, yeah, I'm super excited. I get to finally light up all those bulbs for a much longer period of time and get to play with them a lot more, and not because my other Tesla coil it would have got destroyed real quick. So I've been
something you ordered online.
Yeah, I found it from a mom and pop shop in Michigan who builds them themselves. And if it's good enough quality, I'm going to call them and see if I can't promote them at Flattoberfest and maybe get people discounts, and then maybe get myself some free stuff from there because they make bigger ones and all kinds of cool stuff.
That'd be
but
cool.
It's a family owned business, and I love supporting stuff like that.
Yep. Excellent. Sounds good. Okay. And Cami, anything else?
Oh, what do I have coming up? I have coming up, we've got Iron Realm on Friday, and I have all of the stuff coming in for Flattoberfest. I have little compasses on the way for the kids and little UV pen lights that they love. Just getting some things together. I have too much on my table right now with getting the things, even little boxes made in that for the event. And I'm working on a book project that is coming together. We're hoping to have it together for Flattoberfest with Sylvia Halpert, who, Kyle, you might be interested in. I might even send you a preview, a rough draft to see what you think of it. She is putting together some detailed, like, scholastic material out for the children, and we've got a collaboration going right now on sun and moon cycles, and we're going in different directions to maybe a different book series. But again, we're trying to get out a lot more information for the upcoming generations. And one of the ideas in the chat that I loved, that I absolutely loved, and that I think we should jump on, the artistic people. Maybe we'll get What's and Kai and some people on it, people doing different ditties, is like redoing Schoolhouse Rock with
That'd
a
be
flat
cool.
earth.
That'd be cool.
Yes, you know, the
Yeah.
little catchy for people old enough reading, you know, people my age and older that had, you know, conjunction, junction, what's your function, hooking up. You learned a lot of the things with these little ditties and songs, and they
It'd be
worked
cool to
really
get conspiracy
well.
music guru in there a little bit.
Exactly. Alex, that's who Sherry mentioned, is yeah, definitely get Alex there. So maybe people making little short ditty songs on ways to learn and remember things. Again, we need to find out how to teach our children, because as we showed at the beginning of the video, we can't trust the system, nor should we be. So it's time for us to actually buck up and start putting information together as a community. And that doesn't mean everybody watch us do it. That means anybody that's got like a talent, please add in what you can. Information for children is desperately needed. Same with keeping some shows out there for Flat Earth family friendly, and something that people can watch with their children and learn some things. I'd like to see more of that out there. But thank you everybody for being here today, and thank you for letting me present. Again, I normally like being in the background and watching and doing the work, but it's really a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right. Excellent. Well, crap. I just took a bite of yogurt.
Of course, we're married. Of course, I would stop talking right then.
Right when I was taking a bite of yogurt. Yeah, that yogurt is so good. My God, that's good yogurt.
Black
That's
cherry.
Oh, and real quick,
bomb.
before I forgot to mention it, Fraunhofer diffraction. I will put the spelling Fraun, Fraun, Hofer, Fraunhofer, just like it sounds. And then diffraction, DI, not RE, DI, diffraction.
All right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's our show for today. And we'll be back on Sunday with the rest of the crew and cover the rest of the stuff there and whatever else we come up with until then. So, yeah, I think that's all I have. I don't think there was anything else I had to cover. So I already ran the Flattoberfest kind of ad in the background. So again, guys, Kyle, are you going to be able to go to that?
Flattoberfest?
Yeah.
I wish. I would love to. Not this year, but when Karen B comes all the way out here to the West Coast, I will be there 100% for sure.
Yeah, that's true. You're quite a ways away from it, so it would be nice.
I would love to, man. That's
you
my
get
dream
a
come true.
pass.
So,
all right,
when she's talking about coming out to the West Coast, I'm just like, no way. And so I was telling my wife about it, and we're totally freaking out. And yeah, we're like, yeah, we're gonna be there for that one for sure. So.
Yeah, I'll be there for that one. We all will be. I mean, I don't care if it's on the West Coast. I like the West Coast, so there you have it.
Yeah, I'll be there 100% for sure. If you can do that, yeah.
All right, excellent. All right, guys. See you on Sunday. Take care. Until then, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind, because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.